Hi and welcome. We're talking right now about why is lease to own a good idea, and we're going to compare it with a few things. Let's take a look at selling with an agent. Well, if you ask any agent how are the costs to sell in a buyer's market especially, well, there's generally four pieces, and these four pieces add up to at least 10% up to 15% of the value of the house. So let's say a $200,000 house, 10% is $20,000. So that's a minimum amount. If you bought at the top of the market, you may owe more than that property. So just think about, this is what my number is I'm going to net if I have no mortgages. And if I have mortgages, I'm going to have to pay those off. So that gives you an idea of how much it costs to sell with an agent. So if you can't afford to sell with an agent, you'd have to pay money out of your savings or your 401k or your IRA, then maybe lease to own is a good idea. Now the length of time it takes to sell with an agent, days of the market is basically how long it takes from the listing to the actual settlement. And that can be anywhere from 3 to 6 months in this buyer's market, and even that depends on where you are. Lastly, there's all sorts of buyer's concessions and price reductions when you deal with an agent, so that is something to take into consideration. So let's compare that with being a for sale by owner. Being a for sale by owner isn't an easy thing. You have to learn how to market, you've got to learn how to set appointments with prospective buyers, you've got to keep your property neat at all times, and then you need to learn contracts. So being a FSBO isn't the easiest way, and a lot of people that are buyers that walk through your property, they want you to lower your asking price because there's no sales commission. So it's kind of a double-edged sword being a FSBO and trying to avoid the sales commission. Generally you save 3% of the seller's listing commission if you sell by FSBO. But the aggravation that you have by selling by FSBO is it's not an easy situation. So let's take a look at the last one. What's in it for you if you lease to own? Well, first of all, we have buyers for you right now that are willing to give you top market rent for your property. They're also willing to give you a really good sales price. And we don't have any seller's concessions out of that sales price. And we don't have any closing costs because they've agreed to pay all the closing costs. We also don't have any seller's concessions, and we don't have any price reductions. So those four pieces aren't in the puzzle. So you net more money by doing a lease to own if you're a seller. But the thing is, you got to help the buyer buy it. Now most of our buyers need a little bit of time to work on their credit, or they need a little bit more time on their job. So if you help the buyer buy it, you will be able to get the best possible sales price. And I want to make one more notation. A lot of our sellers ask this question: what if our buyer that moves in to get the mortgage, they don't take care of the place? Well, our tenant buyers know that they're responsible for all maintenance and damage. So it's in our contracts. We make sure that we screen our people, and we make sure that they are the kind of person that will take great care of your home. So I want to thank you for listening to this particular presentation about comparing listing with an agent or for sale by owner or doing a lease to own. There's a form below. Keep going down the bottom of this page and you're going to see a form. If you're interested, please fill out the form. We will get back to you quickly, and we will help you sell on lease to own, generally within 30 to 45 days at no cost to you, the home seller. Thanks a lot for listening. I appreciate it. Bye for now.